to the first podcast of 2021. I have a friend of mine named Mark Jean, who is an expert in all things construction and sound and electronics and all the other lies that he's told me. And I'm going to let him tell you his story. And Mark, you can start in the womb, or you can start it when you're 5 years old, or you can start when you're 10 years old, or you can start yesterday. So the floor is all yours.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, my name is Mark, as Tom said, and I guess I'll start, just telling I was born in Houston, Texas, and grew up there, and the son of Marvin and Glenda Jean, my parents who just celebrated 63 or 64 years of marriage.
Okay.
So that's a huge accomplishment. I am a husband to Paula and a father to Marcus and Maximus, my two boys. They're 13 and 15. And so um, I am a business owner. I own a company called Ardent Integrated, and we install technology into homes. So we are smart home integrators, I guess you could call us.
Okay,
And
you froze up a little bit, so just to make sure that everyone can hear what you said, go from after your part where you introduced your son and then you went into your company's name so that everybody can knows what you do.
okay, so I own a company called Ardent Integrated Systems, and we design and install smart home technology into high-end residences. And so we've had that company for about 12 years now, and we are learning to scale with the help of Cardone Ventures and a few other people that are helping us scale our business. And um, aside from being a business owner, I play guitar. I'm a musician and songwriter, and have had a little bit of success with that. And now I'm here talking with Tom as a Grant
So,
Cardone licensee.
what is the greatest success in your life up to this point?
The greatest success, the first thing that came to mind, I guess, is being a husband and a father.
Okay.
Um, those are things
What
that I
prepared you for that?
really, um, it's a learning process for me. It's like, and I kind of equate it to other people in my life that
Okay.
have
Please
encouraged
do.
me. Okay. I will equate all of it to other people in my life because that is really the truth. Because the people that have encouraged me, the example set by my parents, and then my wife's parents who have been married over 50 years as well. So, those are great examples to have, to see people that have made that commitment, stuck to it, and are living examples of what it's like to be in a marriage relationship. And so that's been a huge, to me, I say that's one of the biggest successes that I've had. And then just learning to be a dad, a parent, to my boys. And I've kind of over the past year and a half really learned not to parent, I say in quotes, my kids, but to more be a coach and mentor to them. And that's completely changed the dynamic of how I talk to them, how I engage with them, and how I interact with them. And I think I see the conversations that I have with my oldest son, and I can see that change, and that's
I
encouraging to
completely
me.
understand what you're talking about because when you talk to someone from your dad hat, you
Uh-huh.
tend to be ivory tower authoritarian, and you talk from your coach's hat, you're trying to communicate to them to improve something that you're doing, and it's at a whole different level of communication. So I applaud you for doing that. Where did you learn how to do that?
Um, Two places. One is a friend of mine that coaches a track club here in Los Angeles, the West Valley Eagles. And so my youngest son was part of the club, and so I was helping him coach, just being a parent volunteer and helping with the kids, and watching his interaction with the kids, how he would engage them, how he would ask questions. That really made me think, the kids really respect him and look up to him for that. So it just made me start shifting. Instead of telling my kids what to do, asking them questions. Like especially my one son Marcus, who loves to procrastinate, and he would procrastinate on school projects that would be due the next day, and he'd have to stay up all night, and he's like in 8th grade, staying up half the night trying to do this project due tomorrow. And so instead of getting on to him about it, I said, well, how did you enjoy staying up half the night getting your project done? Do you think it would have been better to start sooner so that you could have had a good night's sleep? So I think watching him, and I think the next place is being a part of Grant Cardone licensee, and with Richard Dolan and that team, and learning how his coaching, how he coaches and how he coaches us as licensees, and that's really helped impact how I interact with my kids.
So was there a turning point in your life previous to the time that you became a licensee that really helped to motivate you to be the success that you are?
Yes. And one of the things I've learned recently, and it's interesting too, because being a parent, I see more of me in my kids than I did just looking at who I was and where I came, or how I came to be where I'm at, and seeing how they do things. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of how I used to do things. And one of the things I noticed that just made me reflect back on my life is my youngest son, Max. Things come really easy to him. He can pick up on things and learn things really quick, but then he doesn't apply himself to really learn it or grow and get good at it or great at it. And that's kind of been the story of my life. When I saw that and recognized that in him, I thought, you know what? I've always been just good enough, but never great. Good enough to get the gig as a guitar player and tour with some bands or artists or play on some things, but not great enough to like excel to like that level of, being just recognized for that.
Was being part of a band one of your goals?
It was when I was younger, because music was my passion, and I've toured
Okay.
with some artists, some major label artists, and had some success, but nothing, nothing like lasting. And that's why I think, that just good enough gets you in there to do some things, but not great to sustain you to where people, um, sorry about that. I thought I put my phone on do not disturb, but a call came in, I had to decline. But
No problem.
um, yeah, just not great at what I do. And so the past year and a half, when I came across Grant Cardone, and read his book, Sell or Be Sold, I started realizing a lot in my life why I had some success at things right at first, but could never break through to getting to that next level or that next plateau. And a lot of it, the first thing I realized after reading that book, especially realizing, what, if I want to grow my business, I have to get good at sales. And the first thing he talks about is making a decision. You have to make a decision to be good at something or to do something. And then the second thing is you got to commit. And
Yeah.
so those are the two things that I've learned this past year and a half that have been getting me out of that just good enough and moving me into that great zone. And I've seen the difference in our business has nearly doubled in sales this past year during the pandemic, of all things.
Okay.
We've been busier than ever. And a lot of that I attribute to the things that I'm learning, being a part of, uh, Grant Cardone licensee, engaging, and as our friend Ken Jocelyn says, getting in rooms where people who think bigger than you. And one thing that I've learned that I didn't do, I just was apprehensive to, in the past, is paying for access, which, you find out a lot of these high performing people pay for coaches. They pay a lot of money for coaches. And, why do they do that when they're at the top of their game and they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on the top coaches? And it just made me realize, if I want to get there to that level of excellence, I need to hire someone that can coach me to get there. And when you pay for something, you're more likely to pay attention and, put some energy and effort into, applying what you're learning, as opposed to just getting, taking all the free stuff and free advice.
Yeah, you just made me think of I was talking about paying for things and how it becomes more important to you. I remember when my son was in high school, and my son has a very, very high IQ. And he would always come in with a 2.14, 2.35, because the 2.0 kept him eligible for sports. And it used to
Mm,
frustrate the hell out of me. But then he moved out and went away to, I think he moved to Arizona for a while, on his own, and did the things that 19 and 20 and 20-year-olds do. And then he says,
hmm
"Hey, I need to come home because I want to go to school because I don't want to work for wages for the rest of my life." I said, "No problem." I said, what school are you going to go to?" "Well, I'm looking at electronic stuff and computers." I said, "Okay, two things. One, I told you before you decided to move away, that if once you leave, you pay for your own schooling after that. And two, you find your own place to live." And so he came back and he went into, I don't remember whether it was Phoenix or whatever it was, and
hmm
he killed it, and he had straight A's. And I said, "Now, what did you learn about this? The grades, look at the difference. You paid for it, and you kept your standards high. And while I was
hmm
paying for it, you kept your standards at the minimum to keep you eligible to play baseball." So that was kind of the story that I wanted to throw in. So excuse me for interrupting you.
Oh no, and that's exactly it. I mean, that's kind of what I've learned. It's like, when I pay for something, I tend to put more effort and energy into making sure I'm getting out of what I've paid for, and not just, you know, doing it and not putting any energy or effort into it. But
So
I think,
while you were talking earlier, and the every once in a while you freeze up, and
mm,
hopefully we can edit all that out. What motivated you to become a Grant Cardone licensee?
I went to the 10X Growth Conference last year. I had no intentions of becoming a licensee or paying for the program. I just went to the Growth Conference because I wanted to learn more, for about business and sales, because that was the thing that I really realized that I needed to do to grow my company or start to scale. And on one of the mentor calls that I was a part of, Richard Dolan had spoke and said, "Hey, come see us. Love to talk to you." And some of the things he said about how they can help you grow and grow your business, just kind of thought it's worth a conversation. So when I was at the conference, went and had a conversation with Richard Dolan and his team, and about 30 minutes into the conversation, next thing I know, I'm signing signing all the paperwork. And it's like that, what they say, make a decision quickly and figure it out later.
Yeah.
That's kind of basically what happened. I was a little freaked out that I spent 25 grand um, on that, and woke up that night, in the hotel room, and then just sat down and wrote on a legal pad everybody I could think of that I could contact or call that might, get benefit of the benefit or what I've gained out of Cardone University, and
Okay.
just made a big list of people, and, still trying to figure out what that means, how I'm going to really monetize being a Cardone licensee. But just aside from that, what I've gained out of it, just in being in that group of successful entrepreneur and big thinking, big goal people, has impacted my life tremendously.
So I take it you feel the 25 grand was worth it, and you've gotten your money's worth from becoming a Grant Cardone licensee.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So
So,
what what's a critical moment in your life, whether you're a little tiny kid or a teenager or even in your 20s or 30s, that helped you to become the person that you are, that's on a successful path?
Um, I think it's being curious, I guess, and seeing people that have success and wondering, wow, and until you get to know someone, because a lot of our clients have been hugely successful, especially if they can spend $250,000 just on a room, a theater, to build a theater, to
Got
be able to spend that kind of money. They've had a lot of success financially and in business, um, and so it kind of made me one time a couple of years ago start asking questions. What do you attribute your success to? If like, what one or two things that you do every day contribute to your success? And so I found a lot of them read every day, whether it's something in their industry or read something on personal development. That was one thing. So there were some things that surprised me. One guy said hydration. He said, you've got to hydrate, you've got to drink plenty of water and plenty of fluids. And so um so I just thought, hey, if they're successful, do what they do, and maybe I'll have some success as well. So that was kind of my thought process in seeing how
So
things started
if you got
changing.
on the hydration issue, if you got the idea that all you had to do was drink a gallon of water every day and your income would triple, that'd be real easy to accept, right?
That would be really good. But the one benefit that I did get from that hydration is I started getting a lot of stiffness in my lower back when I'm 50, over 50, I'll say 50 plus. Um,
Yeah,
and
well,
so,
I'm still old enough to be your father, so don't worry about it.
um, well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate, um, the, I just started waking up being really stiff and not as flexible and as limber. I couldn't like stretch and bend down and touch my toes. And I just started thinking, well, it's just part of getting old. You just don't have the flexibility. And when this one client of ours said, you got to hydrate, I started drinking more water. I have this flask. It's a 40
Mhm.
ounce flask. And I try to go through 2 of these a day. Well, I started noticing things that now when I get up, if I've been sitting for, you know, 45 minutes or an hour, when I get up, I'm not stiff and having to, uh, you know, from sitting for so long. And then I noticed my back is a lot more limber. I can stretch. And so I started realizing maybe some of the things I've had or issues I had were because I was not hydrated like I should.
Yeah,
So,
there's a
um,
lot of people who have figured that out in the last 20 or 30 years.
yeah, so that was, I mean, to me, that's been a huge uh awakening, I guess you could say, just staying hydrated for my health. And what else did you ask? What was the other thing that you
Well,
asked?
I'll ask you the question a different way. I'm not doing a very good
Okay.
job of picking your brain out because you keep freezing up, and I'm worried about that we'll be able to uh, put all this back into video, which I'll let you know as soon as we can get at it. Um,
Okay.
if you had the opportunity to go back and talk to yourself at 7, what would you tell yourself today?
Hmm. At 7. I mean, I had a pretty good childhood. So I
Okay.
don't know what I would say as far as uh, because what I would say now would be, oh, if I want to think, study hard, learn what you can. But at 7, I don't think that's really something that
All right,
is
pick a different time. 14.
okay. I would say that would probably be a good part, 14 or 15. Um,
Okay.
to me, I would say develop good study habits and skills, because that was one of the things in school for me. I would rather be outside playing sports. Back at that time, it was, you know, play outside, you know, play sports, or TV only had like, at that time cable
Free
TV was
channels.
just out. Yeah. And so now there's way more distractions now than there were back then, but I still found distractions from schoolwork. And And I think a lot of that, having good study habits, and developing those earlier, helps with having discipline later on in life, that when you have to do things. Because I did just enough work to get by, to make C's and, the occasional B. But then I would, when I really had to study for a test, for a class, and I would make an A, I'd go, oh, I can do this. And then I would go back to doing just enough to get by, because I let myself know, hey, if I apply myself, I can do it. But it wasn't important to me, I guess, because
So how did you apply the discipline with those kinds of study habits to learn how to play the guitar?
um I guess when something is exciting and fun, you'll spend time doing it. Because I mean, there was a time where I would spend, uh 6, 7 hours a day playing guitar. And so that, to me, was a lot of fun and exciting of learning that, where sometimes school stuff wasn't that fun, unless there was a subject that, intrigued me or got me excited about. But um, I guess you have to find something that is interesting to you, or you have to have a big enough reason why you want to learn to do something that pushes you or motivates you to, apply discipline in your life.
Kind of like we all got when the pandemic hit, right? We got real motivated.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm still a little bit of intrigued about the focus to play the guitar. Now I completely understand it because I always wanted to play guitar, and when I was in the fourth grade, my parents bought me a guitar and paid for some lessons, and I didn't stick with it. The reason I didn't stick with it was because I want to just play it. I don't want to go through all the practice and do all that stuff. And
Yeah.
it's a major weakness in the way that I approach things. So I'm going to ask you two questions, and these are questions that when I was doing all the interviewing, I always ask prospective employees. So
Okay.
taking into account all of your work history on the job, tell me about your single best day. Be very, very creative and descriptive so the listeners to this podcast are in that moment with you.
The single best day of my career,
Ever on
just
any job, pick it.
on any job. I think the single best day on any job or project is, especially on the stuff that we do now, is when we complete the job, everything goes well. The client's excited about having their home, being able to control it. To me, that's an exciting day, and being able to, uh, you know, see the client's satisfaction or excitement about, wow, they can, press one button, the lights dim, the shades go down, the theater turns on, and they can start watching a movie, or things like that. And that, I think, to me, those are days that I feel most satisfied,
Okay.
um, at what we do.
So let's pick on the other side. And this time I want you to be very descriptive and not just in general. Pick the time, tell me where you were, what you were doing. Tell me about your single worst moment on any job.
Single worst moment. I'm going to pick a job that was also a big learning moment too. Um,
Great.
so this was for a client. This was here in California at a condo on the beach, right on the beach in Venice Beach. You walk out into the off the back balcony, you're in the sand. You've got like 100 meters or 100 yards of sand before you get to the beach. It's just really prime real estate for there. And
Perfect.
he had an older control system in his house and wanted to upgrade it and upgrade some parts of it. So I thought, sure, no problem. So this was kind of right at the beginning of my career in this industry. And we had all these issues, all these things, that trying to integrate old stuff with new stuff, things weren't working, or things were um, uh, not going well. I was stressed out, couldn't sleep, going, how can we figure this out? You know, trying to get help because the guys that, you know, on the team that were trying to program the system were having issues. Then they weren't communicating with me of what the status was. The client would come home and nothing would work. He couldn't lower his shades. He's exposed, you know, to when you're on the beach like that and the lights are on inside, everybody walking by can see in. So it was a very hard, stressful, feeling like a failure moment, I guess.
How did you resolve
But
it?
what I did was I called the company, and I think that's one thing, one trait. I don't know if you'd call it a character trait that I have, is just being resourceful, and I want to make sure things get done. I don't just leave people hanging. You know, I want to resolve stuff and make sure it happens. So what I
Okay.
did was I Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I thought it just said call failed, and I got a little worried there for a second.
Okay.
So what happened was I called the original guy that programmed the house. We put all the original stuff back. I think I paid $1,500 or $2,000 to have the original guy come out and re-upload the program so that it kind of reset his house back to the way it was, and got it working. And, you know, the client told me, he said, because the conversations he would have, you know, he said, Mark, this isn't personal. It's a business decision I have to make. And I need to get this fixed and get it resolved. If you're not the person to do it, then we need to find the person who is and get that resolved. And so the way he phrased it helped me understand, you know, about how a client or a homeowner thinks when we're trying to do something and they're having issues, you know. And so that really helped me out a lot in realizing, he said, this is not a personal issue, it's a business issue, you know, so a business decision. So I found that very helpful.
So if you could go back and make a different decision in a new unit of time, when you told me you started your current business 12 years ago. Is that correct? You told me you started your current business 12 years ago.
Hold on just a second. I'm sorry. I'm having a little bit of an audio issue.
No problem.
Let me try that. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly and I can see you.
Oh, perfect. So just my speaker went off, and so I had to get my speaker volume back on. So repeat that question again, please.
I'd be glad to. I think I remember you told me you've been in your current business for 12 years. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
If you could go back to the day that you started, what would you do differently from what you're doing now?
Oh man, that's a great question. And I'm struggling trying to change still the habits I did when I started the business, because I started this business because I enjoyed audio and video and stuff like that, coming from a musical background. And so I approached it more of like being a technician, and not only finding the work, but being involved in doing the work. And so what I would change, and that's not a great business model for scaling your business to grow. You being the one. It is.
A technician, it's impossible.
It is, because you are going to limit yourself, and you're always going to hit that ceiling and never grow beyond what you personally are capable of handling. And, you know, there were times where it was really stressful and you feel like a failure because you can't do anything or get all the work done. And you would take on more work than you could, you know, get to or do. And so what I would tell myself now is to focus on sales, find a team, find people, find someone that loves, you know, technology and loves reading manuals and wants to do that, and hire that person, and hire other people around you so you can focus on the business building activity.
And that's what I'm trying to do now, is stay focused on building the business and hiring those people around me to do the things that they enjoy that can help grow the company. So I'm learning. That's what I'm learning.
Are you at all connected to Brandon Dawson?
Yes. I have not gone through any of his programs yet because of just, I feel overwhelmed with all the things I'm doing through, Grant and some of the other programs I'm doing. So I have not connected with him yet, but I do follow his 10X venture call on Tuesdays. Yeah. And just follow what he does. And
well, when you actually get committed to going to the next level of that lid that you're currently on, that's where you should go. Deal with Brandon Dawson's team. Cardone Ventures is the most amazing group of people, and they're specifically focused on how to teach you how to scale your business. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, and that's where I feel we're at now, is that I'm the thing that's limiting us from growing, because I'm still too much having to manage projects. I'm not necessarily going and doing the work, but I'm having to go be on site to manage projects and having to, do things that I need to hire just bite the bullet, or just, forget the fear of what happens. How am I going to pay the salary, and how am I going to do this, and just do it, and then focus on, the sales and relationships.
So my recommendation to you again is stay connected, get on those calls, and just listen to that. And when he offers one of those programs that's at a number that you can confront, just start it, and you'll discover that they are the answer that you're looking for. I guarantee it, says the guy from Men's Warehouse, right?
Ah,
It'll be the best decision that you've ever made. You'll be really happy that you did it.
well, good. I just from listening to him and being a part of those, I'm sure it would be great. I feel like I've overloaded myself trying to get through all the different things, and so I'm trying to be selective,
especially with all the Zoom calls that we have to be on these days, right? I do all of them about halfway through, and then I got another one, and then I have to pick and choose. And some of those guys that are on doing this stuff are my friends, and I don't want to not support them. But it's we're spinning plates like the guy in the circus, and you just have to make decisions every day. It's like running a business, just spinning plates. You keep balancing things and looking for what's the very next action that's going to make you the most money. That's the list that Grant puts you through about whether you should be doing something. Number one is anything that has 100% chance of making you money, and number two, I think, is 85% chance. And you should only do the top two of those. So, there's friends and family and training and all that. I spend about 2.5 hours a day training my employees on my nickel while I'm paying them, because I don't like to do things twice. I want them to know that I'm invested in them, and I'm a big believer in we leadership. So I empower people to make decisions, and it's just because I don't want to do that. I'm 72 years old. I don't want to do that stuff anymore. I like working with people.
Yeah.
I like doing that, and I like doing podcasts with friends of mine like you. And it's I would prefer to be doing this 6 to 8 hours a day instead of running my tax business. But my tax business pays so well, and I've got a great group of 14 people that that are on board, and we've created a good, strong culture. We have the morning meetings, just like the Cardone office. Have you ever been back to Cardone's office?
No, I haven't. The times I was supposed to go is all this year, and because of the pandemic, everything has been canceled. I mean,
Yeah.
all of the boot camps I was signed up for, everything's been canceled. So
Yeah, well, this will all be over sometime in the next decade. The unfortunate reality is you and I live in the same state, and we've got the most corrupt, Hitlerized version of a
uh,
government, and they keep shutting things down. It's like, how fucking stupid can you be? You don't solve a health problem with an economic solution unless you have a
yeah,
different agenda, which of course he does. So, without getting myself off on a soapbox and stealing all your time, so if you could deliver a message to the entire world from Mark Jean's experience, what would it be?
I think the first thing I would say is whatever it is you're going to do or you want to do in life is first thing, make that decision. Make a decision to do it. And the second thing is make that commitment. Because those are two things that I think if you make a decision, if you want to be a graphics designer, if you want to be, a business owner, whatever it is that you want to be, make that decision and then follow it up with a commitment and say, I'm committed to learning everything I can about this. I'm committed to, investing whatever resources I have to grow, to surrounding myself with great people, and then, do the work, put in the action and do the work. Those are the three things that I am realizing, the more I apply those things in my life, the more success I start to see. And, for me, it's, making that decision to be great. And it's a struggle. I fight every day with going home, sitting in front of the TV, watching a basketball game or whatever sport event might be on and get sucked into that, or going, you know what? I could spend half an hour planning the rest of my week or planning what I'm doing tomorrow so I can sleep better at night and not have to think about things in the middle of the night if what I forgot to do, and so I would say, make a decision, make a commitment, and take action on that. And, it sounds, um, it's simple, but it's not easy because it's simple to do, but it's not easy, so you've got to put in the work. It's a simple thing to make a decision, make a commitment, and take action, but you've got to put in the work.
Yeah, you have to actually do it, huh? You can't
Yeah,
just dream about it. Yeah, I completely understand.
not at all.
So, is there anything else you'd like to share with the world?
I think the other thing I would share is, man, find a group of people and stay connected and stay committed. I mean, it's just like church. I grew up, that's a big part of my life is my faith, being a follower of Jesus, and stuff. And, being a worship leader, playing guitar at a church for a while. And I think being connected in a community, especially, like coming to LA, that was something that helped me, just being connected and finding people that encourage you and support you, especially in business or any area of life. I think, wherever you're at, finding people that is, Ken Jocelyn always says, our friend Ken, about getting in people that think bigger than you. If you're around people that have set big goals or think big, it inspires you and encourages you because, man, we have all these Zoom calls and I need those Zoom calls. I mean, as much as I'm busy, those Zoom calls, especially the Friday morning Zoom call that we have, I can have a horrible week and I'm like, oh man, I just can't do this anymore. I get on that Zoom call and I'm inspired by the stories I hear of other people or what they're doing. And so I would say find a community, get connected, be around people that think bigger than you. And that would probably be my biggest piece of advice I could give to someone.
Great, great. So we're at about the 45-minute mark. So I'm just going to do a close.
Okay.
Thank you very much for being on the Winning Pitch broadcast and a podcast. I'm revealing my age here. And um, sometime in the future, when you got a huge jump in success, I want you to come back and tell you how you went from where you are to where you jump to, because those are just, as you already know, they're already belief lids, if you follow John Maxwell that he talks about.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed having the opportunity. I apologize for making you get on a half hour earlier and not doing it from home. And I hope you'll appreciate that symbol, that
Yes.
the internet connection dropping out and freezing out hasn't completely wasted your time, but I'm going to postulate that it's all going to go well.
Oh, good. And I apologize if I've parked in an area where I don't get good signal. But man,
Well,
thank you so much, Tom. I really enjoyed this. You know, it's encouraging to me, and I don't talk enough about, you know, what's happening in my life to realize and be grateful for all that I've learned. Because this is one of those things. It's like, man, I'm just really grateful for all the experiences that I've had that's helped me grow to be where I'm at today, and things that I can continue to grow and learn from. And so I appreciate you and inviting me to be on here. And man, I look forward to, you know, just more conversations and you know, hopefully getting to rant and rave offline about our great state.
well, you use the word great and I use a different adjective, but you know,
Well,
listeners get to, they can figure it out.
yeah.
Anyway, if you can think of anyone who should be, should do else that I should do a podcast with, let me know. And
Okay.
I look forward to talking to you again. In fact, we're on a call at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, right?
Yep.
Did you get to see Grant last night on Discovery Channel?
I did. And you know what? I told my kids and my wife, I said at dinner time, I said, we are going to watch this show as a family. We're going to learn, because I wanted them to see what happens when you strip everything away. You're starting from zero. And I wanted them to pay attention to what what these people do, because I knew Grant and there are three other people, Monique, and I forget the other girl's name. But what they do and how they start to interact and grow with people, or talk to people and network to start taking something from zero to $1 million. And to my surprise, you know, they weren't really looking forward to it, but they said, okay, we'll do it. But to my surprise, they were into the show. It's like they're really into it. They talked about, oh, this person did really good, how they connected with that church and the pastor, and didn't have to spend any money and got 3 nights of hotel paid for them, and how Grant bartered, being able to stay in that camper. So they were excited. They wanted to watch. We watched half of it, and we're going to finish watching the rest of it a little later.
Well, you got to watch more of it than I did. The problem I have is that it started at 8 o'clock, and I'm in bed by that because I get up at 3:45 every morning. So I haven't seen it yet. So my plan is to either watch it Friday night or Saturday.
Yeah, and it's 3 hours long. So it's almost like they took the 3 different people involved, and instead of doing 3 1-hour episodes and spotlighting just the one person, they just edited between the different locations and the different people involved.
Well, because Grant's involved, I'll of course watch all.
Yes, exactly. And so I think there's a lot to learn from the way each person is approaching this task and this challenge.
Okay. Well, let's do this again sometime, and I'll see you tomorrow morning on the licensee call.